Well, welcome back to another episode of Bow Hunt or Die. Justin and I have a topic today that we want to talk about that, it can be controversial, Justin. I mean, some people don't
Everything
see
can be controversial in today's world.
I think we've created this world. I think everyone's created this world. The more controversial you make it, the more hits you get, the more smash the like buttons you get. I don't know, that's my opinion.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and visit our Patreon.
Right here. We're only 2,000 subscribers away from 150,000. Make sure you do it. But today's topic is, I'll let you take it.
What age should you get your kids into hunting? Which is a very interesting topic. You know, we did an article on this on bowhunting.com. We shared it on some of our socials, and it had a varied response, right? Which is part of the reason that we're doing this video, because it is such an interesting topic to dive into, right?
But let me set a stage here real quick. Let's set the stage, because we've all got our phones out, we've all been swiping through social media, and then you come across and you see like this 3-year-old behind a deer, and you're sitting there going, what? And they actually have videos because of cell phones nowadays, and you see like this 3-year-old like shooting deer, and you're kind of like, I'm like, geez, I'm like a diehard hunter, and I'm sitting here going like, I'm not sure I'm tracking this. I'm not sure I'm liking this.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's kind of where this topic came from. It seems like since the dawn of social media and the explosion of it, and this is not just in hunting. This is in every aspect, every hobby or enthusiast. Like you see younger and younger kids doing things. But to me, it kind of felt like in some cases, it was more like the parents doing it or allowing the kids to do it so that they could kind of gloat about it a little bit. Like, hey, look at my kid. They're shooting deer at 3 or 4 years old. And for me, obviously, it kind of hits home because I have younger kids, right? And I was kind of wrestling with the idea.
I think before we dive into your kids, I think we need to talk about how we started. Like,
sure.
Let's just hit the brakes. Like, let's go back in time here. I think of myself. Dude, listen, all kidding aside, full transparency. I remember my dad taking me goose hunting. I remember literally laying on the ground in a goose pit, right, dude? And all of a sudden, dude, gluck, 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 and boom, dude, these geese are coming in, dude.
It was a good goose call.
Dude, and dude, I remember jumping up, being like, no, don't come in. Dude, I would try to scare the geese away. Dude, my dad would be like, BAM! And would like knock me into the ground.
Hey, you can't hit my mic.
Sorry, I didn't mean to hit your mic. This is a true story. Like, dude, I didn't want the geese to get shot. And I was probably like 7, 8, 9 years old.
This explains a lot why you've been passing all these deer lately.
Oh, man, don't worry. I'm not soft. I'm not that soft yet. This is going to be a good year for me. I can just feel it. But dude, I remember, like, dude, I did not want them to get shot. Like, straight up. Like, I did not want to hunt. I did not want to do that, dude. And then all of a sudden, as I got a little bit older, dude, just something changed. And then I really wanted to. But, boy, the problem with some of the photos and some of the things that I'm seeing, and again, technology, guys, you love technology, but let's beat up technology a little bit. I'm sorry, but technology has allowed hunting to be a little bit easier in some cases, dude. Whether it's stands, rests,
a lot easier. There's no doubt.
Whatever it be, crossbows, rifles, setting them on stands. Being able really just to pull the trigger.
Portable blinds, food plots.
Sure.
All sorts of things have made hunting a completely different
stay focused here.
thing.
I know, but I want you to lose focus here. Now, dude, your dad, I had the pleasure of meeting your dad a few times. And dude, he was hardcore. Excuse my language, beep that one out. But he was hardcore. Dude, he was a hardcore dude.
Yeah.
And dude, I remember how intense he was one time going looking for a deer with you and him, and just how intense he was. Dude, and I know he dragged you on some hunts, man. Bear hunting when you were young. He dragged you on some stuff. Hunting. Did he force you to hunt? Did he push you into hunting?
I don't remember him. I don't remember ever feeling like I was forced to do any of it. Looking back now, I felt like my dad brought me along on a lot of adventures and exposed me to a lot of things, but in part for the same kind of selfish reasons that sometimes I bring my own kids. Like, it's easier on my wife when I'm like, hey, I want to go do this stuff. I'm gonna bring the boys with me, right? And off we go. I'm gonna take them out of your hair. I'm gonna go do this. So and then it's a little bit easier for them to kind of swallow that. So I think there's kind of like a dual purpose. Like, yes, you get the kids out in the woods, but it also allows you a little bit more freedom versus like, hey, I'm gonna go hunting and you stay home with the kids and watch them type of thing. But yeah, I don't ever feel or remember like I was forced into doing anything.
Neither was I.
But what we were talking about before this video, when we were young, the minimum age to hunt in Illinois, where we were at, was 12 years old. Right? So there was kind of this like bar that was set where like this anticipation was building, like, oh man, I can't wait until I'm 12. It was 12 years old and 40 pounds of draw weight is what you needed to have, right? I gotta be able
Totally.
And I remember working all summer, shooting my bow and putting it on the scale and trying to make sure I was getting to that 40 pounds so that I could start hunting, and that was like the go marker. And at some point, I don't know exactly when that changed, but in most states, it seems like that minimum age has been removed. And it's been essentially like whenever the parent feels like the child is ready and able to go do it, they can. But I think there's a difference between a kid being able to pull the trigger and a kid like fully understanding what they're doing, and taking a life. It's an animal and you are killing it. And I think that's something that not to be taken lightly. And that was the biggest area that I struggle with when I wanted my kids to start. So yeah, I started taking Joey with me when he was like 5 or 6 years old, sitting in a blind, early season, it was a little warmer out, not subjecting him to the harsh temperatures. Then eventually we worked into a double ladder stand. He came with me, saw me shoot a deer, went on a couple blood trails, got to experience, dragging him out, field dressing, some butchering, taking the tenderloins out, and like just getting that initial experience and exposure to like dead animals, right? Which I think for some kids like can be like, whoa, right? And then, he really started asking me like, when can I go? When can I go? When can I start doing this? And I'm gonna be honest, like I struggled with it. He was 8 years old that fall, and I was like, man, I wasn't sure if it was too early or not. And we set up the crossbow and we practiced. And I decided like, okay, 20 yards is it. We got 20 yards. We're gonna sit in a blind on a food plot. If we get a deer to stand in front of us, great. If not, we don't. And luckily he was fortunate enough to harvest a deer at 8, and then another one last year at 9, and then he shot his first turkey this year. So I mean, he just turned 10 and he's already shot 2 deer and a turkey. I didn't kill my first turkey till I was like 30, I think, something like that. And I didn't kill my first deer till I was 15 or 16. So like, the amount of success that he's already experienced at a young age is far greater than anything I ever did.
But here's the thing though, like, dude, I remember for me, because of the age restriction in Wisconsin, and I don't even remember what it was at the time, but
it's probably 12. I think it was like 12.
I feel like 12. I just feel like 12 was the number. But dude, there was just something about the fact of doing it on your own. Like, when I sit here and I'm listening to you describe everything you did, I mean, so much of what you did to help Joey be successful was because of you. I'm not trying to put you down right now.
Yeah.
And I think about even me when I was first bringing Craig and so forth, and it's just like, gosh, dude, I remember sitting in a wood box brine, freezing, dude. Yes. I mean, you didn't have muddy blinds with windows and doors and the heaters were cranking. Dude, it was like you were sitting behind a 2x4 with a wood little construction, and just it created the desire to like try to get one was so much more, I don't know, it just wasn't as much of a guarantee. And I mean, I
struggle with that a lot.
Like, dude, like for me, like it was like I went so many times unsuccessful before I became successful.
Sure.
And it's like that's like creates such a larger drive and passion. I mean, I know for me when it comes with Craig, and of course you and I are always videoing everything, and I think I even messed up a little because I was doing so much of the video and it's a lot. And it's totally the opposite, saying, hey, listen, you've practiced, you know what you're doing, you're 12 years old now, you're legal, you've been through hunter education, because I remember it's like, hey, listen, you're not going hunting until you have that green card, until you go through your hunter.
But now it's different, right?
I know
they don't have to go through it as long as they're with like a parent or somebody that has it. So,
but that was part of the fun, dude. Part of the fun was actually going, believe it or not. Sure. I mean, it was annoying, but it was kind of fun. Like they made hunter education fun. You learned some survival. It wasn't just about hunting. You learned about survival. You learned about, hey, hypothermia. You take care of yourself, trapping, all these neat little things. And then it built up to where you got your card. You kind of graduated, if you will.
Sure.
And then you had the certificate or whatever to be able to go hunting. So, again, I don't know. We're never going to come down to what the right answer is. But I definitely think, in my personal opinion, obviously every kid is different, but it really does come down to the individual. But I don't know. For me personally, I like the hunter education rule. I think you don't need the hunter education thing. You can just go with that. I kind of like the hunter education route. I really do. But unfortunately, it's got harder and harder and harder to get into those dang classes.
Yeah, well, not just that,
opinion.
but I mean, they're probably dealing with like some subject matter and tests that are probably a little bit more advanced than the younger kids might be able to take the 6, 7, and 8-year-olds, right?
They can't do it.
So it makes sense that once you want to be on your own, you've got to go through the hunter education, program, which is great. And I'm sure Joey's 10 now. We'll probably do it next summer.
So he hasn't even done it yet.
No, he hasn't.
So he has shot 3 things and has never taken a hunter education course.
Nope. But the reality is, I think
I'm not saying that
you learn probably as much
parents.
or more from your parents as
you
do from that class. But regardless, they still should go through it.
I feel sorry for him.
I guess to your point though, like I've struggled and I have a lot. Fortunately, like we have a pretty solid team of people, and a lot of us are relatively in the same age bracket. So a lot of us are dealing with the same. Like our kids are all relatively the same age.
Yeah, you're talking about like Tommy and Matt Miller.
Tommy,
and
Matt,
Clinton.
Troy.
Right.
Clinton, a lot of these guys, we're all kind of facing the same situations, which is like, how easy do we want to make it for these kids? And there's been a couple times like Joey and I will go out and we don't hunt with a blind. And he actually enjoys it. He likes doing that. So we'll just go out, we'll find a tree, we'll sit down. Yeah, we still got the tripod and the thing. Chances of success are way lower, and I know that, but I also want them to have that experience of like failure, not seeing a deer, not getting a shot.
Dude, I remember when I first met you with Mike Willenden back in those days. I mean, I remember, hunting's changed so much.
It has quite a bit. But I mean, I secretly, like as a parent, like when we go out, a lot of times, like I don't want him to shoot a deer. I want him to experience what hunting is actually all about. So yeah, he shot a doe.
But dude, let's face it. In today's world, with social media and everyone wanting to brag and kind of show off.
Yeah,
let's face it, dude, like we have become such, I don't want to say we've become such good hunters, but dude, you and I both know if we want to get a doe or we want to get a deer, dude, we can pretty much go get a deer if we really wanted to have a deer. I mean, this isn't a bragging thing right now, but like the problem is that just wasn't the way it was. That is not the way I remember it when I was younger.
And I think the difference from 30 and 40 years ago to now is sheer information. Yes, it's technology. Yes, it's the gear that we're using and whatnot, but like the amount of information that's available to today's hunter compared to what we used to have. Yeah, we had magazines that you could read, but a lot of that was like, let's face it, it's kind of BS, fluff, crap, or a lot of it was like stories of how, Johnny killed a huge buck, or whatever. But it wasn't like real information. Like you can go online, you can watch a gajillion YouTube videos, you can go on to Facebook groups, forums, websites, and you can get the most like granularly detailed, specific information on how to scout, how to hunt, how to do all these things. And you can take that learning curve that we went through as young hunters and all the mistakes that we made
just thinking,
and you can fast forward like the first 15 years of our hunting career is where a lot of these guys are starting nowadays.
Totally.
The amount of just wealth of information is so much different nowadays. But back to my point from earlier, like Joey shot a doe last year in October, and I spent a pretty good amount of time with him hunting the rest of the year. He wanted to shoot a buck, and of course, right, the kid's 9 years old. He wants to shoot a buck bigger than the one he shot the year before, which was just a year and a half old.
Yeah, that comes from daddy.
No!
Yeah, you were so...
Dude, I was trying to get him to shoot anything that came out. I was like, hey, there's one over there. If he comes in, you want to shoot him? And he's like, no, I don't want to shoot. I want something bigger. I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? What have I created here? But, kind of fortunately, like we hunted a lot late season last year, and he didn't shoot another deer, which I thought was awesome. We saw deer. We had some good hunts. We had some hunts where we didn't see any, but he kind of got a taste of like that failure, which is like now he's like asking me, Dad, when are we going? Where are we going?
Right.
He wants to check trail cameras. I've got my iPad at home, so I got my stealth cam
but
app,
I
and he's
think
checking my cameras all the time.
I think it's time now where you got to be like, dude, you got to do the hunter education before you shoot your next one. That's
We'll do it next summer. We'll do it next
Now,
summer.
don't be making excuses. You can still get them in this year.
I got stuff to do, man.
Oh.
We got no time for this business right now.
Here we go.
Hunting
All
season's
right,
almost here. But I think that, as you said, there's never going to be the correct answer.
No.
The only thing I
There's
would
always gonna
say,
be an
if
argument
anybody's
with this.
watching this that has young kids or is going to have kids at some point in time that wants to get them into hunting, is just make sure, to borrow a phrase from my wife's favorite show, The Bachelorette, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons.
Bachelor. We're bringing the Bachelorette into the bowl.
I was just thinking about it because it was on the other night. My wife watches it,
Dude.
and every year
We
there's
allowing
people
this?
crying on the show. Oh my God, whatever they're crying about, and then they say, "You're not here for love, Todd. You're not here for the right reasons." So
What are they there for?
To get famous and be on TV, Todd. That's why we're here. No.
Oh, yeah.
But if you have kids
why I'm here.
and you want them to get into hunting, like just make sure that you're doing it because the kid wants to do it, and they have an understanding of like what it means to go out and kill an animal. Like that's an important thing, and I think a lot of these young kids, like, do you have any memories really from when you were 2, 3, 4, 5 years old? Like, no, you don't. Right? So, I mean, these kids aren't ever even going to have memories of shooting these animals.
I agree.
They're going to have a picture that was posted on Facebook with like, my kids killed, 5 deer before they were 6, and it's like,
Yeah.
what's the benefit of that other than to kind of be a braggart about it, I think?
And listen, not to bring this back up, but don't forget to go and read the article. It's a great article. I mean, it's a very good article on the website. Go read it, add your comments, check it out. Obviously, you can comment below, but I think we did a really good article putting that together. And I think it just, if you're one of those people who have kids and you're getting closer to that point, I think it just brings up a few topics that allows you just to think about the process that you're getting ready to go through so that you make the best decisions, right? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, listen, of course, we're pro hunting here. Obviously, we want our kids to hunt too. But at the end of the day, what we really want is our kids to be happy. We want them to enjoy doing what they're doing. And we want them to do it for the reasons that they want to do it for.
Yeah.
That's
And
what it
there's
comes
this
down.
like teeter-totter debate of like, should I start them early and try to get them like hooked into what I'm hooked
Right.
in so that they'll become a hunter? Because if I wait too long, maybe they're into video games or sports or girls or whatever, and they're just not going to want to go hunting. Like there's this balance there. For me, it was kind of like my kid, and this is a delicate one, right? And I say this a lot with parents, like, just because my kid wants to go do something doesn't mean I have to let him go do it. If I asked my kid if he wanted to eat candy for 3 meals a day, he would say yes. It doesn't necessarily make it the right thing to do. So
But not venison?
But if I say like, hey, do you want to go hunting and shoot a deer? And he says, yeah, I want to go do that. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to let them go do it. That's the other thing that I hear from people out. Yeah, my kid was asking me to do it. He really wanted to do it, so I let him or her, ultimately do it.
But them asking to go do it doesn't necessarily have to mean like, here's a tripod, here's the deal, all you gotta do is pull the trigger. Take him and show him what a real hunt is.
Sure.
Doesn't, I mean, I hate to say it, but you do kind of control the ultimate success of the hunt. Not saying that you should throw the hunt, or throw the game, but you can make it turn into basically, a hunt is what it comes down to, right?
Yeah, no doubt. And Tommy, I think, does a really, really good job at this with his son, Jack.
He did.
I think Jack's
Make sure you show some of that
maybe
footage,
like
'cause
13 now.
Yeah.
He finally got through his hunter's education. He's shooting his bow. He's got a compound bow. He's shooting it well. He's practicing. Tommy's having Jack come out. You've seen him in some of our videos. He's helping mow food plots and plant things and trim stands.
He'll knock you and me out.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of
He
those.
will.
It's one of those deals where it's like, hey, kid, if you want to do this, like, you're going to be part of the whole process.
Yeah.
You're not just
Yes.
going to show up and get put in a blind to shoot something. You're not just the
Totally.
trigger man. There's a lot more to it. I'm trying to do the same thing with my kids, bringing them out. We go shed hunting, in the wintertime. Joey picked up a couple sheds this year that we kind of let him find. But I mean, those types of things kind of help inspire them along the way and fuel that passion for hunting. And I guess the other thing we should talk about too is like, not every kid is gonna want to go hunting, no matter how much you want them to, no matter how into hunting you may be as a parent. Like,
Well,
it's
let's just talk about that for a second. You got 3 kids at home.
yes.
Where you at? I mean, it's 3.
Oh, sure. So Joey's the oldest.
My sister
he's-
never hunted.
He's hooked. my daughter, yeah, she wants to go with this
But
fall.
let's talk about your sister.
My sister is completely I don't know if she's anti-hunting, probably considered an anti-hunter. Doesn't eat meat.
But there you go.
Never
There's a
had an
perfect
interest.
example. But there's a perfect example.
I also think it was a different time. 30 years ago, like females in hunting was not nearly as prolific as it is today.
True.
It was pretty, I don't want to say frowned upon, but it was just accepted that if you were a girl, you weren't hunting.
Right.
You know, so it's not like she ever really, I mean, yeah, she got exposed to dead animals, but never, I don't think she ever went with my dad hunting once, ever. My daughter does want to go. She wants to sit in a blind. She just turned 8. So I'm going to bring her out this fall. We'll probably sit in a blind. My youngest may actually be the most interested in hunting. Like even more so than Joey. He's 5, he'll be 6. He runs around the house with the little bow with the suction cups, and he shoots the mounts on the wall. And
Poor Amy.
He's
Amy's
like,
oh, not
he's
another.
ready to go. He's ready and raring. If I let him go right now, he'd go out and shoot a deer, for sure. So I mean, he's got a few years yet before we get to that point, but probably get both my youngest and my daughter at least in a blind. Hopefully, we could see a deer or two this fall. And then we'll kind of see where it goes from there. We'll see if that helps stoke the fire. I don't imagine that my daughter's going to want to do it, but if she wants to, yeah, let's go. I'm just going to have to find more places to hunt with all these kids. So there you go, Graphman.
You've got places to hunt. Here we go. See, there's always like a little jab. Like you just knock Courtney and Brad out of their spot, and then you just go hunt over there.
Fair enough. You heard it here first. Sorry, Courtney and Brad. Kurt knows where your stands are.
I can show you where they're at. They're not hard to find. Well, listen, this is a great topic. I think it's a topic that's going to be, that this will probably get some debate both ways here or there, hunter education, no hunter education, 2-year-olds fine, or waiting until they can make their own decisions, right? At the end of the day, you're the parent. You get to ultimately help make those decisions. But again, I think the key is you got to keep it fun. You got to keep them engaged. And at the end of the day, it is our responsibility to get kids outdoors, show them the way. This is the way, right? You show them what we like. But at the end of the day, they're kids and they get to choose at the end of the day what they want to do.
And even if they're not your kids, if there's other kids,
True.
I've got a few boys that my son plays baseball with. Like they don't come from hunting families.
Yeah.
They think I'm a YouTuber. They're like, "Are you a YouTuber?" But I mean, they watch the hunting stuff.
Well, that's because you always got money coming out of your pockets,
Justin.
that's what it is.
They see what we're doing and they've asked, like, "Hey, can you take me with?" And it's one of those things where sometimes it's hard to balance like your personal kind of greedy desire to want to go hunting and shoot an animal and having to sacrifice some of that to bring that next generation with you.
True.
Right? Even if it's not one of your kids. Like I've talked with a couple of them. I've talked with some of the parents like, hey man, if I get an opportunity and we get like the right weather and it's not super cold and I've got a little bit of free time, like
so let me this is just then. Oh yeah, it's 90 degrees, the wind's out of the south. There's going to be no deer moving. Hey, you could definitely come this weekend.
No, I would rather not bring them. I'd rather bring them when they have an opportunity to see an animal.
Yeah.
Because that's how they get hooked. Like sometimes you bring them and they don't see anything.
And maybe the secret is you just bring them to let them, witness.
Sure.
They don't have to hunt.
No, they're not interested in hunting. They just want to go wit. They don't know anything about it.
Agreed.
And that gets them at least some exposure to it.
Totally.
And maybe that's a good way to, start bolstering those hunter numbers that everybody keeps worrying about. Like, is this older generation ages out and kind of gets out of hunting, making sure that we're filling that pipeline with new young hunters. But it requires sacrifice.
Totally.
And it's one of those things, I think there's a lot of people that aren't willing to give up their time, their spots, their deer that they're chasing.
Well, sometimes I think too,
others.
Justin, not to get this away from, and we'll end this here pretty quickly because this is starting to get long. But I think that's where, like, I go back in time and I think when I first started, that's where I think like the duck hunting, the goose hunting, the pheasant hunting, it's such an easier. Than the deer.
And people aren't so protective of it.
Well, right? And there's it's just easier too. I mean, whether you end up going to, I don't know, I'm trying to think, how do I want to say that? Whether you go to a game farm for pheasant hunting or, there's easier ways to kind of like introduce them into it and be like, wow, this is fun. Here's a dog working and now it's about the dog and on point.
Well, and you don't have to be quiet.
Right,
and there's a lot of, it's a little bit more action.
It's almost like you can kind of graduate up to the next steps,
Yeah, but again, everybody's different. Like my dad, I don't think really, we never did that. Like
Yeah.
I jumped right into,
Yeah, but dude, your dad was hardcore. Your dad was jumping in a truck and going to Canada and going bear hunting and moose hunting. Dude, a lot of dads were not doing that to that level. I mean,
yeah,
so
I think I went on my first bear hunt in Canada in a tree stand when I was, how old are you in third grade? Like 8? I guess
Dude,
8, something like that.
For most people, the thought, you take most 8-year-olds today and tell them that you're going to go stick them in a tree stand in Canada bear hunting.
Well, I wasn't by myself.
Well,
I mean,
even if they were with somebody, if they saw about, they'd probably be crapping their pants. It wouldn't go. Let's be
I'll
honest.
never forget, my dad shot a bear, and I was so scared to get out of that tree because I thought the bear was going to come back and eat us. 100%. I was like petrified to get down out of the tree stand because I was convinced the bear was going to come back and eat both of us, but it did not. Obviously, I'm here today.
All right,
the bear didn't eat me.
Let's wrap her up. That's the topic.
Yeah,
What
let us
is
know
the
what
right
you guys
age
think.
to get your son or your daughter or other kids out in the woods hunting and pulling the trigger for the first time? Comment below. Can't wait to read these.
It's going to be good. Thanks, guys.